Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CoLab, SpacetoCo's free monthly online sessions designed to assist in those working in community venues to learn, upskill, and be inspired to do their work more effectively and efficiently. We hope you find these sessions useful for the important work you do in local communities. For those of you who are watching this recording after this live event, hello, and we hope you get valuable knowledge from this session. My name is Carmela, and I organize these monthly learning series. And just a little bit about SpacetoCo before we move on. So, next slide. So SpacetoCo, our mission for SpacetoCo is to help community venues be a thriving hub in their communities. We do so by providing opportunities to be able to grow bookings, increase community engagement, as well as support. We also create and provide free resources for those working in community venues. SpacetoCo is a two-sided marketplace where you can list your spaces where guests can find and book them online. It is also an efficient booking system tool where you can reduce your admin by 80%. We work with a number of local government as well as community centers across Australia and New Zealand. For this month's collab session, we will be hearing from Dr. Aimee from Creative Waikato, and we will be talking about all things community advocacy. We know how vital your community venues are for culture, arts, and local initiatives, and we know how important it can be now more than ever to publicly advocate for those things. We will also be discussing how we can empower the community around us to do the same. So, our awesome speaker for today is Dr. Aimee Jane Anderson O'Connor. It's quite a long name, which is great. Is a researcher and writer who works in creative development, strategy, and advocacy at Creative Waikato. She is a creative writer and collage maker with a passion for collaboration and a big fan of the venues which provide connection and belonging for our communities. So I'm going to chuck Dr. Aimee on the stage now. Hi, Dr. Aimee.
Kia ora, kia ora koutou. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real privilege to get to share this time and space with you all. You'll be able to tell I can't see you, so I'm kind of just talking. Please know I'm talking right to you with my whole heart, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat as well, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have at the end. So I'm going to share my screen now to my presentation. So yeah, kia ora koutou. My name is Aimee. It's a pleasure to meet you all. And I work for Creative Waikato. We're a regional arts organisation. We're a not-for-profit. We work primarily in the Waikato region. That's we're funded to deliver to that area, but we're also available to chat if you're from outside that region as well. So I just wanted to start by saying, please do get in touch if you've got any questions or things you'd like to chat about. I'd love to hear from you. My role is mostly in strategy and research, as well as creative development, which is like community development, just in our sector. Cool. So community venues are essential community infrastructure. They provide spaces for us to gather, celebrate, facilitate, learn, and grow. We find ourselves in the midst of COVID-19 and its legacy, climate change, and growing levels of isolation and loneliness, as well as increasing social division and inequity. The act of gathering is a powerful act and one that our communities are hungry for. We hear this again and again. So yeah, I'm talking to you from my position as a researcher, and I work at Creative Waikato, as well as a creative practitioner who facilitates events as well in my own time. So facilitate a lot of events for community. What we've heard from our communities is a real desire to meet kanohi ki te kanohi, or face-to-face, following lockdowns, and for some of our communities following weather events such as the floods in Coromandel and in Auckland and in Hawke's Bay. So where do we meet, especially as we see a trend of home ownership decreasing across the country? Where can we meet? Well, you know, spaces for collective gatherings are precious, and that's what you provide. So I really just wanted to start with a thank you for the work that you do and the spaces you enable. They're really precious to our communities, really precious to me. And it is the people, programs, and projects, the soft infrastructure, which enlivens and activates these spaces. So today we're going to talk a bit about advocacy. This stuff is fairly general, and my intention really is just to plant some seeds of possibility. And at the end, we do have that space for questions. So if I can answer them, I will. And if I can't, I can get your details and get back to you. So the first point I really wanted to make is that care is at the core of advocacy. We advocate for the things that are most important to our lives, the things that we are ready to invest time, energy, and money into. We enter into a relationship of service with the causes that we care about and tend to. The things we care about most can also be called our values. And this is a really interesting word to think about because we might be quite used to hearing about the monetary value of things, but actually value is much deeper than that. It's about the worth we place on things well beyond any dollar measure. We get to decide what's worthwhile to us and share about this value, even and especially when it is not counted in terms of monetary measures, or when, in the case of lots of community venues, an economic return is not really what we're looking for. It's a social return or a well-being return. So we know that people are at the heart of our communities. Creatives, arts groups, tinkerers, volunteers, and supporters breathe life into spaces and places and make our lives vibrant. Arts, culture, and creativity help us to thrive. In times of challenge, it is often community and arts funding that goes first. Often this represents a relatively small part of the puzzle in terms of financial savings for investors, but it represents a real big value or a loss of value. These are often relatively small cuts within an overall budget, but represent a lot for the communities who benefit from them. And we know that our communities make the dollar stretch and often share it around, and the same $10 makes the way around the community a bunch of times. And in the arts and culture space, much of the work happens because of the mahi of volunteers. We can encourage our leaders to think not just in terms of cost, but of value. So advocacy is increasingly important. It's one of those big words that encompasses a bunch of different things and takes on different meanings in different contexts. But at its core, advocacy is about speaking and acting in support of something to bring about positive change. Action is really key to advocacy, and it can take lots of different forms. It can be loud or quiet, public or private, big or small. Every action counts, and there is a part for everybody to play in this. It can include things like gathering information or providing education, talking to your neighbours, talking to your communities, raising awareness, amplifying the voices of those people affected by decisions, so giving a mic to people, offering tautoko and support, celebrating progress, sharing your experiences or views, typo, writing letters, signing petitions, attending marches and events, bringing people together around a kaupapa, and creating a shared language and plan of action. We're going to touch on shared language today. We also can advocate when we're doing things we have to do, like reporting or funding applications. There's a way we can thread it through, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Cool beans. Cool. So yeah, for organisations, particularly if you do receive government or philanthropic funding, you are already engaged in some form of advocacy and completing your funding applications and reports, especially if you are required to provide impact reports, which we are seeing more and more being required. You are sharing stories of the importance and value of community spaces, groups, and activity. So coming together can help us to make sure that we present a clear story and a strong voice. So this beautiful whakatauki we always come back to. He aha te mea nui o te ao, māku e ki atu, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the most important thing in this world? It is people, it is people, it is people. And that's core to the work that you do. So we can work to use shared strengths-based language to build momentum in our collective advocacy. The research shows that the most powerful advocacy is that which leads with a strong vision or with a positive message. Now, that doesn't mean ignoring the stuff that's hard. That is not what I'm suggesting at all. We need to validate the things that are tricky because there are plenty of them. But it means that leading with a positive vision tends to stick more in people's minds and can be more compelling and can open the door to get to address those challenges. So that's what the latest research that Creative New Zealand has put out has found, which is useful to know. Cool. So we can use shared language in promotion and storytelling and practice really naming the value that events and work offers to our communities. If we each use these opportunities to champion the value and impact of this work, the understanding will grow. So some shared language we can look to thread through our work. Increasingly, investors of all kinds are looking to be able to justify their investment with a consideration of ESGs. So these are environmental, social, and governance impacts. They're being asked to provide that both by their stakeholders and by the community. And with the rise of social media, organisations, companies, investors are more and more being held to account on this stuff. So if we know that, we can be a little strategic. And related to this, it is also worth noting that local government, councils, are required by legislation to deliver on 4 well-beings, that is economic, environmental, social and cultural well-being. The language of well-being and community well-being is really on the rise, both in Aotearoa and internationally. Your work as enablers of community connection contributes to social and cultural well-being. What we've seen as well at Creative Waikato, we've been working on submitting to councils' long-term plans. So in our region, that's 12 councils we've been checking out. And what we've seen in this, as well as some others around the Motu we've had a look at, and central government, is a real focus on the language of placemaking and resilience. Preparing communities for climate change is another key thread. And innovation, efficiency, and essential services, or core focuses, are all things that are coming through as well. Arts, culture, and creativity are tools that can be used to support all of these things, and you enable spaces for this activity to happen. If you want to find out more about this work, you're very free to check out, we have a document on our website called Briefing to Councillors, and there's also a briefing to incoming ministers if you want to have a look at that. Or flick me an email, we can have a chat. So yeah, first up, I really want to emphasize that your work is really key to supporting social and cultural well-being. I've been thinking a lot about the audience for this, and there's lots of different groups across the country. So a little idea could be to check out your local council's long-term plan, and in the opening pages, they'll have their vision for your district or your place, and they'll have some key language that they'll be using in those opening pages. If you can pick up some of that and reflect it back to them, that can be really powerful. Yeah, and you needn't read the whole thing. They're quite long. Of course you can if you'd like. Cool. So, cool beans. So more directly with your mahi, you could share that your venue supports unique expressions of local identity. This is the kind of language we see coming through. Or that it contributes to the place you live in by adding X or Y. It could be opportunities for connection. It could be space for collaboration, or whatever it is that you offer. You might emphasize how having shared publicly accessible spaces is essential in times of disaster or challenge, and in the recovery period which follows. You might share that you provide an essential community service by activating the hard infrastructure that provides space to your community. We need people to enliven and activate built spaces and assets, otherwise they sit as empty shells. So your work is key to activating the hard infrastructure that they've invested in. So in order to see a return on that investment, there needs to be support for your work. We're going to touch on measuring impact in a tick, but I just wanted to touch on activities and outputs. Please do forgive me if this is common knowledge to you. You can just tune out for about the next 30 seconds. But what we found is it's not always common knowledge. So it's important to keep good records of what happens in your venues. This might include a list of all the activities, the actions taken or work performed, events, classes, workshops, shows, programs, etc. You could also look to coordinate with the users of your space to gather data around the outputs from these activities. These are the tangible results, like total number of audience members at a show, number of tickets sold, or numbers of creators employed or volunteers engaged. If you have an online presence, you might look at metadata you might have on your venue's website traffic or email open rates or social media reach. If you're not already doing this, or if you have this information that's kind of scattered, that can happen because you're all working really hard on a bunch of different things. It can take a bit to set up and maintain, but this quantitative data, if you can put numbers to things, is really highly valued by decision makers and can be used to demonstrate continued need. They really like figures and facts and sound bites. So outcomes and impacts. We want to take the next step and unpack the ideas of outcomes and impacts. So if your team or organization is putting valuable time and resources into running your venue, how do you know that you're hitting the mark? How do you know what impact your mahi is having? This is especially important when our aim is to serve our audiences or communities. It's kind of like the so what. It's about demonstrating that your communities value your offering. In thinking about your mahi, I've been really struck by the layers of people your work touches. You support enablers, the folks who hire your space, and the impact of this flows through to the participants in those events or activities, and then through to their whānau. It's really profound. So have a think about how your organisation could evaluate your social and cultural impact. So pulling up again on that wellbeing language from earlier. It's important to keep this really simple because you are already working really hard with often really small teams and tight timeframes. So we're trying to keep it simple. So you could gather some feedback from the hirers of your space using a follow-up email or Google survey, or as part of the key handover process. It could be as simple as 1 or 2 questions where you thread through that idea of well-being and community value or contributing to place. So questions like, do you believe that our venue provides you increased opportunities to connect with your community? Or it could be increased opportunity to connect with new people or new opportunities. Or do you believe that our venue supports the well-being of your community? Or you could have an open feedback. Please share any feedback you have about the value of this venue to our town or city or village or neighbourhood. We've developed a resource for asking good evaluation questions, which has just got some tips on how to make research really accessible and simple. I'm a big fan of that. And I will ask Kamala to send out the slides for send it out with the slides for today's presentation. If you want to find out more, we have developed some workshops around insights and impact and evaluation, and also around audience development, which is also another important part of this, how to connect with your audiences. Online, it's called Outreach. So if you're from within the Waikato region, you can sign up right away. And if you're not, you can send me an email and we can sort it out. So please do not hesitate. As well as carrying out your own evaluation, you can draw on some national and sometimes even regional research, just depending on if it's been funded at the time, which sometimes it is. We've got some quite recent Waikato stuff. For information around the value of arts, culture and creativity across the country, you can check out Creative New Zealanders and the Arts Report, which the most up-to-date one is just launched, very exciting, and the Audience Atlas Aotearoa, which has got some really great data in it. Creative New Zealand has also recently launched a fabulous fact finder for arts advocates you can use too. It's really neat. You can search by key themes or keywords and it'll just give you the snippet. It's just ready to go. Also in our Joyful Steps to Community Advocacy Guide, which I'll pop, it's on a slide at the end and I'll point you to it. We've provided a fact sheet that you can just go and copy and paste some key bits of information. We wanted to save you the labor of having to read through everything. We've done that so you can copy and paste and use those. If your venue is more focused on another sector, you can check out the professional or advocacy body for your sector or area. So, for example, Sport New Zealand or Volunteering New Zealand, or if there's a professional body that you're a part of or that you go to for your PD, chatting with them is a good idea. Think about how you might share this research, both from evaluation you might have done and from external places, this existing research. Think about how you might share it with your stakeholders and your community. So sharing it both kind of, I don't want to say up the chain because we think community's at the top, right? But both to your stakeholders and funders and to your community. So making sure it's sharing it right around for that shared understanding. How might you incorporate them in developing your audiences or in your comms? We do have more information on this, both as outreach and then available to anyone. The audience development toolkits on our website. So have a think about how you might share it. It's important that if you're investing that time into doing it, it then goes somewhere. Cool. Okay, so those are some practical pointers for advocacy you can have a think on. Again, the takeaway is just to keep it simple. You've already got a lot that you're doing. So next is how to support your communities and galvanize your communities to advocate for the value of your venue, which is really advocating for themselves and their community's well-being too. So it's a 2-for-1. It's good for us all. So this could look like anything from asking them to leave a positive review on your Google page to asking them to share with 3 of their friends or whānau how important the venue is to them. Word of mouth is powerful. You might ask them to submit to long-term plans if your council is looking to talk more about venues and community spaces, and share about one event you have hosted and what it meant to them. These personal stories are really key, particularly if folks feel confident enough to present verbally. And you could host a submission writing workshop where you make cups of tea and help folks to share their stories. When you ask your communities to give you some feedback, you can make sure to explain why you are doing it and how you will use it. And if you have capacity, offer them support to form their own questions around the value of the activity or event. You could pass on the tips for asking good questions resource that I'm going to send to you. Or if they're in the Waikato region, send them towards us. We're really keen to support. Then you might ask them to share their findings with you for you to then share them with your people, the people who are investing in you, so you can demonstrate the downstream impacts of your work. So if you have the capacity to help do a little bit of capability building, it can then pay off tenfold for you and your org. I think what is really key here is often the things that mean the most to us, they often can be easy to take for granted the things that are really important for us, or think that they're always going to be there because we know that they're important, so everyone should know that they're important, but that's just not the case. So a major part of this work is helping your community to understand that their voices are really important, and that if they value the work that you do and they want to see it continue, that any support they can give to you is really powerful. And it doesn't take all that many voices to leave an impression, and that can work in our advantage too. So advocacy can also include inviting decision makers to your space, or supporting your community to invite them to events, or to experience those transformative creative activities firsthand. We know the power you can feel from being in a room where a performance is unfolding, or seeing a sports event bring diverse people together, or meeting the real life people who create beauty and connection in our communities. Minds are changed often by having lived experiences. We have to touch people's hearts as well as their minds. We can help to enable opportunities to feel the impacts of this positive mahi firsthand, and to see the flow-on effects of that work within the communities we serve. So we have created a guide called Joyful Steps to Community Advocacy, which is designed to be a friendly place to have a go at some first steps. If this stuff is speaking to you, or you want to find out more, you can find it free to air on our website, and SpacetoCo has also sent it out. Thank you so much, SpacetoCo. And you can find it on our website under the heading Standing Up for the Arts. Or again, drop me a line and I'll flick it through to you. It's geared primarily towards the arts and culture space, but contains tips that are useful for advocating in the community space more generally too. So as you read, you can just think about your context. So a key part of the advocacy guide is the importance of self-care and community care. Advocacy brings us into close contact with those things that we care the most about. It is essential and meaningful work, and it is not always easy, especially in times like these. So, to finish up my talking bit of this, I want to invite you to a micro creative activity. This is inspired by our workplace wellbeing initiative, Creativity Every Day, which you can sign up for from anywhere in the country. I can't see you, so I don't know if you're doing this. It's a bit of an experiment and really just an invitation to take 3 minutes for yourself to have a little moment of joy and play. So I'll show you what I create, and you don't have to show anyone what you create, but you might let me know how it goes in the chat. Okay, so grab a pen and paper if you can, if there's one near you, or if you do if you have a digital drawing, the ability to do that, whatever it is, just take 30 seconds to grab that, and I'll grab mine, and I'm going to click out, and hopefully, cool. Kamala, is there a way I can turn off screen share but keep my camera on? Ah, you're brilliant. Thank you so much. Cool. So I'm just kind of trusting that somebody, even one person, might have gotten a piece of paper and a pen. Here we go. And so your assignment is to draw a duck. So have a think, not to Google it. We're not looking for any reference photos. It's just from you and your imagination, your knowledge of ducks right now. Okay, so think of a duck. Okay, now take 30 seconds to draw a duck. Okay, I'm going to draw one. And I should tell you, I haven't told you my creative practice. I'm a creative writer. I'm definitely not a drawer. So here we go. So draw a duck. Okay. We're not spending too much time. We don't need to shade or anything. Okay. This is the duck that I drew. And I didn't Google a duck beforehand, I promise. So that was just a little well-being moment, which you'll see in the advocacy guide is key, because this is hard work. And so taking moments to do something for you, even if that's just a minute to draw a duck, even if it looks like this, is a very good thing indeed. So the thing that you can do, the thing that we do, is you look at it and you say, this is my duck. Only I could have drawn this duck. It's meant to help those of us that might have had tough arts experiences when we were younger. Okay, cool beans. I'm going to click back into the presentation now, hopefully. Cool, sharing my screen. Thank you so much. Oh, I've signed out. That's special. Okay, that's fine. I'll put my email in the chat anyway, and you can get in touch with me. But that's really what I have today. Just some simple starting points, but I'd love to hear your questions, and I'm going to pass over to Kamala now to facilitate this bit.
Oh wait, there was just a voice and no video. I got it. But yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Aimee, for your session. I wrote so many notes. I have learned so much in this space from somebody who doesn't really know much and work with community venues, and we want to do our best to do more for them. I think some of the notes that I wrote, I'm sure everybody had some, but I just wanted to share some of the ones that I got out from your session, even just little sentences, was the part where you said action is key to advocacy. Every action counts, and there's a part to play for everybody in this, regardless of how large or small that may be. And leading with a positive vision compels people's minds more. And it's awesome to just reemphasize that community venues work is key to cultural and social well-being. And that's why it's important for us to advocate for our community venues more. And I love that you said, you know, your community venues already do so much. So it's so important to keep advocacy simple. And, you know, as per usual, anybody who's working anywhere, like it can seem very like overwhelming at times, like feeling like you're already doing your work, you're doing the admin for your venue, you're making sure that community engagement is always happening. And then you still need to think about like how can we make sure that our funding doesn't go away, or that people are still engaged with what we do. How do we advocate for what we do in community venues more? So I think it's awesome that you just made it so tangible and easy for everybody, saying like, hey, you can keep it simple, even as simple as utilizing the key languages in the council pages for the vision. Like you just need to go on the website. You don't have to read the whole mission and vision statement. You just need to pick out some of the key language and use that for when you're applying things. And it's awesome to see that there's so many resources out there like already, because your work and your presentation is clearly so research based. So super awesome. So we do have a few question and answers here from some of our audience. For everybody here, feel free to just send either questions and answers. I was about to say your duck drawings, but then I realized you can't really send pictures. But yeah, feel free to ask questions during either now in the next few minutes. If there was anything burning in your mind that you wanted to ask Dr. Aimee, or you feel like you were coming in here with a certain interest in the topic and you feel like she hasn't been able to touch on that, feel free to ask that in the question and answer. So one of these questions, I'm going to pop it on the stage. Oops. So Shana asks, have you seen any creative examples of venues or communities advocating for spaces or the arts?
I love this question. And I love what this question is bringing to the forefront is that you can use your creativity to carry out evaluation or research, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. It's community. It's talking to your community is actually what this is at the core. You can use flash language, but yeah, I love that question. So I can think of a local recent example, which is the Hamilton long-term plan had some proposed cuts to some key community venues, and so the venues came together and offered afternoons where they talked, or evening sessions where they talked through some of the key evidence, and so they drew some of it from us and some of it from other places, and they provided their communities with like a fact sheet, kind of like what you can find in our community advocacy guide. And so it was creative in some ways in that it was spread by word of mouth, and there was a campaign that was like arts for your heart and people make place. But also what they did was they had a morning where it was music to make submissions to. So actually Creative Waikato, our CEO, Jeremy Mail, he's a amazing musician and composer, and so he played some live music and it became about music and Kai, and while you're here, learn how to engage in this democratic process. So drawing on the strengths that we already have in the community of people who are willing to contribute their time to have a creative atmosphere. But there are all kinds of things you could do. You could have people do a creative response where they decorate a piece of paper with their feedback, but then they really make it beautiful, and then you could display that, say, if you had a window space or something like that. So struggling to think of really creative responses recently, but there are all kinds of things you could gather. No, not. People have waiata. They'll bring waiata into a council space or outside of a space. They'll join and they'll sing and they'll have a dance and they'll have a celebration, which also has got a message. So when you do that, there's stuff to consider in terms of crowd management and clarity of message, and making sure that that is really clear if you're going to have a public demonstration of some kind. But you can draw on the strengths of your community, because our communities are brilliant. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, we had another one that she asked, and she said, "Hi, Amy, could you talk about how you did your research, or what type of research you did to get your findings?"
Yeah. I'll talk about a few things, and because there are a few different findings threaded through today's chat and through the advocacy guide. And if I don't hit on them, maybe you could jump in the chat and be like, no, I'm talking about this thing. So we undertook some research in 2020 with Huber Social, who are a international, Australia-based, but internationally reaching social impact measurement expert. And we undertook a survey of, we got 989 respondents, which is actually quite huge from our community across Waikato. And it was a survey that they filled out. It wasn't a short survey either. People really invested their time into this. It was such a taonga, such a treasure. Talking about the it's a whole of life thing. So it was asking about overall well-being, and then from there within it had questions around arts, culture, and creativity. So we were able to find out some stuff about the connection between arts, culture, and creativity and well-being, as well as what are the priority needs across Waikato in terms of well-being more generally. So that's one of the things we've undertaken. As well as that, all of the strategies that we develop are developed in consultation and feedback with our community. So we undertake focus groups. We will meet up with folks, and we have workshops where we'll provide a space and kai and talk ideas through. So everything we do is with community, for community. So the research takes on, quantitative, that numbery stuff, and also qualitative, listening to people's stories and taking on feedback and things like that. So it depends on what initiative as to what research methodology we use, but always trying to be fit for purpose and responsive, and be aware of over consultation too, because when our communities are used to having to hustle for funding and all kinds of things, you don't want to be another burden. So in the guide that we're sending out around tips for asking good questions, we do talk about keeping it simple, not only for your well-being, but also for your community, so it becomes achievable and not an additional work burden. But if I haven't answered, please tell me what findings you're interested in. And I'm a research nerd, so I'd love to answer.
Perfect. We had another one, an awesome one from Connie. So he asked, "Hi, Dr. Aimee. We are an autonomous facility, so don't often get to interact face-to-face or kanohi to kanohi with our users. Yeah. Do you have any advice for how to best get some engagement with users who have never met our staff?"
Oh, what's an autonomous facility? That's my lack of knowledge here. I'm sorry. Does it mean like online?
No, I'm pretty sure Connie is, she works for an art space, but I don't think they are particularly funded. Like they have to seek funding on their own.
Right. Maybe it's more like user-led, like the people manage their own.
Connie, feel free to chuck it in the audience or the chat, so that Dr. Aimee can answer your question more directly.
I'm wondering if it's kind of like we've got an impact hub here that's kind of similar, like you get the
so pin. She said So she said they have rehearsal studios that are accessed independently.
Cool, beautiful. Thank you so much, Connie and Kamala. That's great. Yeah, that's a really good question, because we know that, face to face, seeing somebody saying, "Hey, can we?" That can be quite powerful. You could do stuff, I guess, like you could leave a question at the door. You could send emails. I will be honest, in research we've carried out before, that person-to-person thing is really powerful and helpful. So I hear you. Thank you for your question. think emails are really good, and demonstrating why you're asking is really important too. Like, it's not just that you're merely curious. It's for a broader advocacy, and sort of letting them know that that I don't know if this is true for you folks, but for a lot of folks, your funding is dependent on being able to share these stories. So say, you know, we need to share about the value of this place. So please help us. There are different things you can do. You can offer, if you had a prize of some kind, whether that was an experience or depends on what your kaupapa is, as to what you can offer. In resourcing. So something like that, an incentive can be powerful, that can demonstrate that you really value people's time. You could have some kind of informational sheets in the venue. So how can you help people to become conscious of that experience of using the space, that it's not actually a given, it's a result of a lot of people's work and advocacy. But that's a really interesting challenge, Connie. My heart's with you. Yeah, feel free to drop me a line if you want to talk about it more, and I can talk to other people who work in these spaces and get back to you if you'd like. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, that's awesome, because like it's interesting because Connie did say like the users use their space often after her work hours. So her issue has been with engagement, who have never met the staff. And I think it's always another layer of challenge for people when you have to like up your online presence, or you have to like meet people more through emailing or phone exchanges and all that stuff. There's extra work, but it doesn't mean it couldn't be done. I think it's just, you can still create a relationship with your users, and get engagement from them, even if you've never met them in person, because the more you're exchanging with them, the more you're getting to know them. Even you, like, this is actually like the first time, well, second time I'm meeting Dr. Aimee, like online. A lot of it has been exchanging in emails. Then it's one of those things that it's just like, you know, I've gotten to know you. So when we did meet through video call, I was just like, hey, I feel like I've known you for a bit.
Yeah.
And we can chat casually.
Yeah, and I guess for that autonomous question, it is tricky because a lot of this labor or work that goes into enabling these spaces is kind of made to be behind the scenes anyway. It's labor that is not super visible, right? It's like, if you imagine an iceberg, it's that stuff that happens underneath, and artists and creatives know exactly what I'm talking about. If you put on a show, there's the show, but then there's also all the tech and all the rehearsals and all the space, you know, and the work you do is already has the potential to be overlooked. And then if you add in that it's also after hours, which, by the way, so valuable to have safe spaces communities can gather in the dark or on the weekends, amazing. But then, yeah, all the more, how do you make that work visible? And yeah, as you say, building relationships, that audience development piece is all the more important. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. But even like the fact that you know your users just by what they do in their group. So Connie, if you have people who are coming in to do rehearsal spaces at like 9 p.m. and you're at home, but you know that group, let's say, is for like a dance club or something like that, and you see something on social media on your own accord, and you can say, hey, like, I thought about this for you, or funding for dancers or dance group or creatives, like if you were struggling with funding, here's a link to help you with your group. Like, you know, just to let your users know of your space that you're like thinking about them. Like, that's also like cultivating that relationship and also creating engagement with them. Yeah. So Romani Lee says, we send out Google Forms with a maximum of 5 questions on an area of our space we are searching for feedback on, and it has been helpful. We also offer to make a donation to a local charity for every feedback form responded to. That's an awesome idea. That's a great way to like show incentive and to like push for, to get the community engaged.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Romani. That's an awesome idea. Sweet. So if there are no more questions from anybody, I'll just double check that I haven't missed out on any at the moment. If there were no more questions, again, Dr. Aimee here has sent her email for you guys to get in contact if you wanted to learn more. But don't worry, because we do send you guys an email afterwards to just with a click of a button, you can like connect with her through LinkedIn. But again, once again, Dr. Aimee, I'm getting my people mixed up. Dr. Aimee, I just wanted to thank you once again for your time, your wisdom, and your knowledge, and the research that you've shared through this session. I've definitely learned a lot, and hopefully the community venues around us has also learned a lot through this session, more about community advocacy, or even just like gain awareness of the fact that this is something everyone can do. And without further ado, I will just move on. So just to let everybody know on here, or if you're watching afterwards, there is SpacetoCo does provide way more resources for people who work in community venues. These are just a few of them. We have case studies, we have more collab sessions, we have more resources, guides, tools, and they're all accessible to you for free. We want to help you guys do the best you can for your venues and for your communities. And yeah, that's what we're here for. We will send you a link again on how to access that. And we want to thank you so much for tuning in with us today. And we wanted to invite you to our next collab, which is happening at the end of June, Tuesday, the 25th of June. We will send these details out again and when you can register. And this one will be on maximizing the community benefit by effectively managing your spaces in your community venue. And so if this is of interest to you, or you just want to learn more, you want to tune in, we have an awesome speaker from Australia. Woohoo! We haven't had an Australian speaker in a while. But yeah, we have somebody from Australia coming in to run the session for us. And look at that. With the record time, we have 10 minutes to spare. But we will let you go now. And we just wanted to thank everybody again for tuning in, for supporting us, and for just coming in and wanting to learn more. We hope everybody has a great day and